For Black Ops 4 Zombies, back in the day it used to be very infamous, as it was regarded one of the worst zombie experiences ever, in terms of the Treyarch crash and because so much controversial changes they did to the game. But Vanguard Zombies already took the spot of being one of the worst zombies experiences ever, and also too debatable Modern Warfare Z right now too. I may do a future video on why Black Ops 4 Zombies was universally hated when it came out. I want to talk about one of the forgotten storylines in that game, which is the Chaos storyline. What makes this storyline stand out from Advanced Warfare, World War II Zombies, and Infinite Warfare Zombies is that this one was created by Treyarch, so it's gonna have that Treyarch writing to it. But practically in all sense, the Chaos storyline was sidelined and forgotten about even to this day. Now there's diehard fans that like the Chaos storyline, and probably me making a video on the Chaos storyline is gonna be bring them out of the woods. For this video, I'm gonna be explaining of why the Chaos storyline failed. But before I get into that, I want to say something about my channel first. In my Black Ops 2 video, I started a Subgoal. The Subgoal was to hit 5k. So when I hit that mark, I'm gonna do a Q&A stream, as it will be my first stream for this channel. Well, I think I want to hit it around towards the end of August, so practically in 2 months. I would prefer if I hit it earlier. Right now I'm sitting at 2k subscribers, so I would appreciate any new viewers or any returning viewers who subscribe right now, and check out my other stuff too. But with that out of the way, let's go back into the video. Now for a quick summary of the Chaos storyline for Black Ops 4. This storyline is completely separate off of the Aether storyline. It does not have the elements of 115. The only thing that's similar to it is just the zombies. The Chaos storyline and the Aether storyline have a different set of rules. How even what controls the zombies in that one or what influences the zombies is different. As for the Aether storyline, it's 115. But for the Chaos storyline of what controls the zombies or what creates them is called primal material. And this is an ancient resource that a lot of civilizations used to use it but was lost to time. Because basically everyone got greedy over it and almost killed everybody. But also for the Chaos storyline, it takes more of a mythology base, as it uses a lot of the old gods, and we see some of the maps that take inspiration from that too. As for the map IX, which takes place in the Roman times as we travel back in time to get information, we can already see this is more mythology based, and even too for Ancient Evil, because that one is more in Greek territory. It even combines some of the modern mythologies we have today, both are kind of mythologies, but I'm talking about the old movie horror monsters. As for Dead and Night, it brings werewolves and vampires into the Chaos storyline. But overall, it takes more of mythology base as they're more of the centerpiece. Nothing compared to the Aether storyline. So it takes more of a mystical and more fantasy-like, way more than the Aether storyline in a certain way, because in Black Ops 3, well, the Aether storyline went completely fantasy-like. But anyways, the Chaos storyline has 4 new crew members, and it mainly focuses on Scarlet Rhodes as it's basically her story. Because her father was finding these artifacts that had the prime material, and there was a cult called the Order that wanted to take it away from him. But it's her goal to stop the Order and get her father back. It's just a crude summary of the whole story, the beginning part of the story. But one major thing that killed this whole story, which was a stupid decision from either from Activision or Treyarch, was that it had to share with the Aether storyline. What I mean about shared is that the Chaos storyline and the Aether storyline were knitted closely together, as one side gets a couple maps and the other side gets a couple too. Both of these storylines had 4 maps for them all, so it was perfectly balanced. We got 4 maps for each of them, even though Classified is the one you have to pay and the other 2s you have to play too. Both receive same amount of attention in terms of map design and map development, right? Well, this is how it should have been done on the paper, but in actuality, in terms of development, writing, and everything else, it did not do so very well. And especially for the fans too, because a lot of people did not like the Chaos storyline when it first came out. Now with Voyage of the Spirit and IX, the story was alright. It was nothing compared to the other one, but at least it was starting to begin up and do its course, where it just tells us what's going on and that was it. It wasn't nothing special, it was just alright. But the biggest problem it had to face was that it had to go up against the other fan favorite, Aether storyline, which basically accidentally made these two compete against each other. Pretty sure Activision or Treyarch didn't want this to happen. Because in paper, they probably envisioned it to be something grander and people were going to look at both of these series in a good limelight. But they didn't, because in practice, well, it all turned to shit. Now this is pretty common sense. You have 2 storylines alongside each other. One's a fan favorite one, which is the Aether one, and that's was gonna end with the Black Ops 4, and it was gonna go out with a bang. So all eyes were gonna be on it no matter what, as we all wanted to know how it's gonna end, and if all the mysteries and even all the stuff we know was gonna finally conclude on the end. As this series was really well established, and a lot of people loved it ever since World at War. But then you have the other storyline, the Chaos one, which is the new one, which is supposed to be a successor off of the Aether one. but I have no clue if this was from Activision's decision or Treyarch. It was an impossible fight if the Chaos storyline was going to stand toe-to-toe against the Aether one. Now, it's not confirmed, but I fully believe that it was Activision's fault, as there's a lot of dumbasses in their management. But there was an impossible feat to happen. It had to be a miracle if the Chaos storyline was going to be received really well. Since it was coinciding with the other one, it was going to have a lot of high standards stacked against it. Even though it was a new series, so of course it's not going to stand well when it's new, it has to find its footing ground. So basically, the writers for DC had an impossible difficulty as they had to fight against the other fan favorite one. An analogy I came up with is that for this situation is that you give a kid that doesn't know how to ride a bike, but you give him a motorcycle. He's obviously not going to be able to ride it since he doesn't know how to ride the bike, or even anything at all too. And then you have someone that comes along and pushes him off the bike. He just barely started driving, and I feel like this is what represents more of the Chaos storyline. This thing got pelted to hell because there was no reason why to focus on this one if it doesn't even connect to the other one. In summary, I said it has its own set of rules and it doesn't even really matter. It gives you the sense that why should I invest my time into this lore if it's not even going to matter to the other one that's about to end off. But to me, back in the day, it seemed like filler. It was just more like a waiting period until when they can continue off the Aether one. But I think people didn't even care about the story and they just played these maps out of boredom as they were waiting for the other Aether stuff. And especially for IX, as I think that's considered one of the best maps in Zombies history. I think because that's thrown around with a lot of maps, so I'm not sure. It was more to numb our brains so we could wait for the other better storyline to finish off. As many people, even like me, I didn't give a crap about the Chaos characters at all. Which I know now in retrospective it is completely unfair because we were comparing it to the other one, even though, like I keep saying, this was just barely starting out. But I remember even too, I thought about this too, and I think other fans too, is that it took away the limelight out of the other storyline, because now it needed separate development now, as they had to work on both of these storylines at the same time. They're writing for it or either doing the maps for them. Remember, the Zombies team is very small, so some stuff is going to get cut corners. In some areas, some are going to get more favoritism than the other one. And this goes with map design too, sadly. For both sides of the maps, for the map design for each storyline, the Chaos one got 4 original new ones. Now this is obvious because, well, they're trying to establish it. But for the Aether one, which was supposed to end with Black Ops 4 and go out with a bang, only had remake maps. The Aether one, these remakes are Mob of the Dead, 5, Nuketown Zombies, and Call of the Dead. So these were all remakes and we didn't get anything original for the final conclusion for that story, which feels a lot like a cop-out. I don't know. In my opinion, and probably other people too kind of believe with me with this, is that the Aether one should end off with a bang instead of using remake maps. The last map for that storyline which ended off was Taggart Toten, which was a remake of Call of the Dead. And it doesn't feel like a really good conclusion with that map. The cutscene's really cool and all, but I feel like we should have got something original if they were going to end it off. It sucks too because they did have something planned for that. In my other video where I talk about cut maps, Shameless Pug, I talk about that one of the maps was called Great War, and in that limited information, it would probably seem to be a sequel to the other one, when Dr. Monty and the Shadowmen fight each other. Would it have been a second war? It could have probably finished off the series with a massive bang, and would have satisfied a lot of people. This map was cut for unknown reasons. I don't know if it had to do with the other side, because, well, mainly they were focusing on like Chaos, one of all the original maps it got. In a way, it seems like an accidental favoritism. I'm pretty sure the Treyarch team didn't really want to make the other one at the same time with the other one. Pretty sure the Zombies team thought the same thing, is that this is pretty common sense. Because there's no way that both of these storylines were going to receive the same attention, in terms of development and fan outcry. And that's what exactly happened when these both maps released at the same time. No one really paid attention to the Chaos one. All eyes were on the Blood of the Dead one, as that was more cinematic than the other one. And well, we finally get to see our characters in the Mob of the Dead map. We knew Mob of the Dead was a hell version of this universe. Something bad was gonna happen and all eyes are on that mostly. The other ones did get some eyes to it, but not as much as attention as compared to Blood of the Dead. So even to a classified, because that brought back the old crew from World at War from all the way to Black Ops 1. A lot of people love those characters, but again it was an involuntary competition, as I think people were comparing both of these characters from both of the storylines. And it was an unfair comparison too. But the way they handled it, it had to be like that, as many of the fans kept doing the same thing over and over again with both of these storylines. It was dead on arrival no matter what. It was gonna all come crumbling down in a short time span. And it did, and what else didn't help was that some of the other controversial changes in Black Ops 4. With all that, it just piled it on more and more, and I think this received more hate for both storylines, but more on the Chaos one. What really sucks for Treyarch is they wanted the Chaos storyline to work. They wanted it to be a successor to the Aether one. So even Jason Blundell, who even worked on it, did most of the writing and incorporated a lot of mythology stuff into it, as he was really into that type of stuff. And it did certainly give a different edge to it compared to the other one. It had its own special identity. It was not trying to copy the other thing at all. It had its own thing, and it was going to keep it like that. It was completely put in unfair competition. I don't know, either from someone from Activision. I'm most likely saying, like I said earlier, because I think the Chaos storyline would have been a good successor to the Aether one if it was owned on its own toes. If it didn't release with Black Ops 4, I think it could have been managed to be another storyline that many people would have liked. Many people would appreciate it too, and especially for the fourth one, that since the Aether one's going to finish off, we would have gotten more maps on that. And they would have been all original too, since they didn't have another storyline to work on. It would allow more flexible development around the team too, to finally finish off in a good way. But that didn't happen, of whoever's decision it was to have both of these storylines at the same time. In a way, what I think what mostly messed up the storyline for both of these things was Activision's fault, as well they were managing most of the zombies team too. Pretty sure they had the Chaos storyline because, you know, Blackout, they wanted more operators, so they wanted more skins to have around. Probably one explanation, but it still doesn't make sense of why they would have both of these compete against each other involuntarily. People started bringing attention with the last map of Ancient Evil when it ended off with a cliffhanger with Medusa being introduced. That's when people were saying that the story was starting to pick up finally, and people were finally giving it its attention and recognition for it. But it was already all too late, as that one was the last map forever in that storyline, forever ending on a cliffhanger, as they went to finish the other one first. And they never came back to it ever again. They don't even acknowledge it at all too. It's just there back in the storage picking up cobwebs, never to return ever again, or never to be even seen again. Just Activision or Treyarch's fault, as we don't know who's the decision that did this. They just waited with Black Ops 4 and then waited to do this game in Cold War. I think it would have taken off and would have been a good successor. But they didn't, which ultimately led to the failure of the whole storyline altogether. So welcome to the end of the video. I already made 3 negative Nancy ones, with one that talked about the lesson horror and the other one about futuristic COD, and now the third one talking about the Chaos storyline. My next one is definitely going to be positive, as I'm going to be talking about the Black Ops 6 ARG. So that's going to come out really soon. But if you made it to the end of the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and also follow my Twitter. I hope you guys have a nice day. This is Mazer Argo signing out.